So now it's time for Plank of the Day.
Hello, it's Plank of the Day time.
So today's the day that Rachel Reeves gets up in the House of Commons to tell us all how much better the economy's doing than we thought it was doing. But of course, it's all lies. It's all rubbish. It's all complete and utter balderdash. Rachel Reeves literally could not run a piss up in a brewery. And we know that because when she went to a pub, she thought it was a good idea to pour some Guinness into a wine glass. That's how much of an idea she's got about hospitality. Meanwhile, most pubs are shutting down. We heard this week that Brewdog, the beer company, is laying off about 350 people, shutting down a whole load of pubs. You know, people are suffering. People are paying more money for almost everything. They're going to complain in government that there's nothing they can do about the international oil crisis. They're going to complain that they can't stop the petrol prices going up because it's out of their control, right? And they're also going to say, but don't worry, we've brought down inflation, which isn't true. They'll say, we've frozen rail fares, which doesn't seem to have had any effect on rail fares at all, because they seem to have got more expensive than they were last year. They'll also say, oh, but we brought down interest rates. No, they didn't bring down interest rates because the Bank of England brought down the interest rates because they're doing their friends a favour and trying to make it look as if they're not worse than Liz Truss at running the economy. That is the problem. But here's what I'm going to provide to you as Plank of the Day. And it's not Rachel Reeves, funnily enough. It's not even a member of Parliament. It is all members of Parliament. And why? They're getting a pay rise, believe it or not. According to a piece in the Daily Mail today, their pay is about to go to £110,000 a year. Now, people say all the time, don't they? The trouble with Parliament is we're not paying them enough. This is obviously a Westminster bubble view. These are the kind of people who work in, newspapers where they get paid an awful lot of money, six-figure salaries sometimes. And they think that £95,000, £96,000 a year is not really enough money to live on, despite the fact that they can also claim loads and loads of expenses. We did a story, did we not, the other day, about Darren Jones, who's in the cabinet, who not only gets a cabinet salary, which is a lot higher than £110,000, he also claimed something like £325,000 in expenses from the taxpayer to run an office, to pay for his travel, to pay for his second home, to pay for his heating, to pay for miscellaneous expenditure. You know, these people are living very high on the hog. And of course, they get a pay rise pretty much every year. This latest pay rise is running at 5%. And here's what they say. It's made up of 3.5% cost of living uplift, worth £3,300. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but if inflation is coming down and they say that we are having more money in our pockets, how does that work if they're also claiming that 3.5% is the cost of living increase since last year? Because if it's good enough for MPs, it should be good enough for us. So shouldn't we get either a 3.5% increase in all the money that we make, or perhaps an even better idea, 3.5% less tax to pay? Because that would mean we're giving them the same proportion of money as we were last year. Supposedly this money is to tackle spiralling bills. Well, hang on a minute. Didn't they tell us that bills were coming down? Didn't they tell us that in April we'll be paying less for our electricity? Didn't they tell us we're paying less for our food? Didn't they tell us we're paying less for our council tax? Well, yeah, we're not, are we? Because everything has gone up. Guess what else they're getting? They're getting another 1.5% benchmarking adjustment because they've compared their salaries to other roles and decided that they need another 1.5%. Well, that may well be a necessary thing to do. But hang on. If they're comparing an MP's salary to another salary in another job, exactly what are they comparing it to? They won't tell us. Because I bet you any money, a pound to a penny, that whatever that other job is, you don't get 325,000 quid's worth of expenses to go with it. Or even 250,000 quid's worth of expenses to go with it. So you can't compare an MP's salary really with anything. And here's one I think will really wind people up. One of the reasons they're getting the pay hike that they're getting is due to their workload and increasing abuse and intimidation. Huh? What do you mean? What, because people are getting flamed on Twitter? What, because I call Keir Starmer a liar every day on Twitter, he needs to get more money? Why? He is a liar. Just because they get abuse doesn't mean they should get any more money. I get abuse all the time. I don't get any more money, and I wouldn't expect to. This is all, of course, agreed in advance by something called IPSA, which is the parliamentary body which looks after MPs and looks after their expenses and their pay. Richard Lloyd, who's the chairman of IPSA, says, the role of an MP has evolved. They are dealing with higher levels of complex casework, and abuse and intimidation towards MPs and their staff has been growing. In reaching our decision, we have benchmarked MPs' pay against other responsible senior roles in civic society and similar worldwide democracies, as well as considering our core principles and wider economic contexts. Really. In future years, we will continue to consider prevailing economic and fiscal conditions when confirming annual pay decisions, taking into account the experience of people outside of Parliament. Peers are also set to benefit as their tax-free daily allowance is linked to the increase in MPs' wages. That means they will get a rise from £371 a day to £390. The rise is also likely to spark debate on the £100,000 cliff edge, where workers face an effective 60% tax rate on earnings between £100,000 and £125,140. Once earning above £100,000, MPs would lose their tax-free personal allowance of £12,500, as well as their entitlement to 30 hours per week of free childcare, which can carry an annual cost of £9,600. Who gets free childcare? 30 hours a week. Unbelievable, right? This whole business was set up in the wake of the expenses scandal in 2009. But I've got something to show you, and I think you'll enjoy it. Taxpayers Alliance, a great organisation who we talk to an awful lot on this show, have put out a little video report on this story. Anne Strickland is the name of the person doing it. Have a look at this.
It's just been announced that MPs' pay will go up by an inflation-busting 5%, taking their annual salary to almost £100,000 per year. This is absolutely disgraceful when hard-working taxpayers are facing a personal recession and a record-high tax burden. Let's call this what it is. It's rewarding failure. MPs' salaries should not go up automatically. They should be linked to GDP per capita, because if the country gets poorer, so should they.
See, I think that's a great idea. Congratulations to Anne Strickland. I don't think we've met her before. We might have to get her on the show, because she's absolutely right. MPs should not get an automatic pay rise, right? They should only get a pay rise if they've done something worthwhile. They should only get a pay rise if they've actually helped people or done something to save money from the public purse. But of course, what this means is that taxpayers are going to be subsidising these idiots with even more money. We're going to have to pay even more tax so that they can have a pay rise. And as Anne said, if they've improved the economy, if they've improved the ratio of GDP per capita, that means each person is actually making more money, then good. Let them have a bonus as a result. But if GDP per capita has gone down and we're all making less money, then so should they. And I think that is the lesson for today. So I'm afraid, from Ed Davey to Keir Starmer, even to the Reform MPs as well, and all the people that you might like in Parliament, you know, this is a travesty. They should not be accepting a pay rise. They should turn it down. But of course, you know what they'll say. All MPs always say the same thing. Well, it's nothing to do with us. We get awarded a pay rise and, you know, we don't have any say in it. Really? You expect me to believe that? Really? Does my head zip up the back, as they say? No. So for today, the plank of the day is every single MP in Parliament.
Hello, it's plank of the day time.